Hey everybody, welcome back to another exciting episode of the Stash Report from the Stash Project. Today is June 29th, 2020, and we have a pretty good show for you here. We have some domestic releases, we have some import releases. Some of the import releases are new tool kits, some announcements, so yay. A pretty decent end of the month here. Of course, we'll be back in a couple of days, quite literally, as we deal with the July compilation video in a few days for the first of the month. But in the meantime, let's talk about a couple of those announcements. We got some August fill-ins over at Oshima. So in addition to the kits that we've already mentioned in the past, they're going to be doing the 1991 Toyota Aristo 3.0 QV, being two different trim levels, kit getting a reissue, and then some wheel sets that were added for the month of August are the 14-inch Focus Racing 14-inch 8 spokes, which are a Watanabe looking thing, but not really Watanabes. 14-inch Mark IIIs and 14-inch Equip, both of those on the what they call the short rim, because they don't have a deep dish to the wheel face. And then in 19-inch wheels, we have reissues of the Kranzi Borfus and Kranzi LXZ VIP wheels. So those kits, like I said, are the kits that are added for the month of August. Going flip back over here to June so we can talk about the kits that came in this week. One other thing that was announced, really officially a new announcement of a modified reissue from Nunu. Now, you may recall we talked about in the past, probably two and a half months ago, they had put into place these four new kits that were going to be in the Japanese racing series, and they were going to be a 24 Hours of Spa car, a World Rally Championship car, a Japanese Touring Car Championship car, and a Japanese Touring Car vehicle. Remember, your difference between JTC and JTTC is years. JTCC refers towards the later section of the racing series, towards the 90s onwards, and then JTC tends to be like 1990 and before. So we got the announcement for what the WRC car is going to be, which, it's not exactly, I don't think, stellar in the sense that not a lot of people associate WRC with like the 80s. For some reason, you always see everything marketed as WRC from like the 1990s on, but at any rate, what they're going to be doing over at Nunu is reissuing the BMAX tooling Mitsubishi Lancer Turbo. This time it's going to be for the 1982 Thousand Lakes Rally, or Rally of a Thousand Lakes, not to be confused with a Song of a Thousand Dances. There's going to be several new pieces tooled into this to make this earlier kit, the one that came out originally, the Advan liveried car that ran at the Royal Auto Club Rally, the RAC Rally in England, was in 1984. And so here's a look at those new parts that are going to be included. You get a new set of wheels with this, a new bumper, over fenders, because if you didn't notice, if you don't have an original one, you may have not noticed, but if you do have an original one, you notice the fender arches are much more prominent on this. So you get new arches, a new set of night lights are included, and then there's some bits and pieces back there in the back for like number plates and tow hooks and things like that for the new bumper, and there's a new sort of a rear spoiler type of thing, new antenna. Of course, the antenna will be taken care of in the PE set as well. There is, of course, like everything that Bima Nunu does, there is a metal photo etch metal antenna seatbelt set available for it as well. We also saw, because I went over and I checked right before I started recording this video, the release date on one of the Japanese websites is July. It is a end of August release over at Hobby Easy, which of course in Hong Kong they tend to get the new stuff before anyone else does. So end of August, September, probably a little more realistic than July, but at least that's something that's on there. There are several kits that are announced for release in July nominally that aren't even on the Asian vendors for pre-order, so it makes me a little dubious that they'll show up with any kind of regularity. And the other thing that popped into the Hobby Easy thing as well, that is a kit that was announced a while ago, was reaffirmed for the summer back 2.5 months ago. What we're talking about is that McLaren MP4 2C, MP4 2C F1 car, the one that has the one-off yellow Marlboro scheme that was run. and that also has an end of August release date in Asia as well. So perhaps that will show up. Again, there's another kit that's supposed to come out in July. But of the kits that were supposed to come out in July, that is the only one that has a official release date. And of the 4 mystery Japanese Racing Series kits, this Mitsubishi Lancer is the first one to break cover to officially declare what it is. And again, that has an end of August as well. So again, we talk about the new stuff. It slides around the calendar a lot. It's kind of hard to nail it down. It's much like wet spaghetti. And it is what it is, but eventually they do show up eventually. So, talking about kits on the domestic side of things, we have 3 more releases from round 2, and also that kit from Savina's Jar we discussed earlier this month, and that is, of course, that Blue Max Racing 1984 Grand Prix Tim Richmond Old Milwaukee car. I have seen in subsequent Saturday morning shows that Savina's Jar has done that there are races in 1984. The car ran without those meatballs before the old Milwaukee wording. That's fantastic, I guess, from the aspect of the decals being correct for something. Although, again, from a marketing standpoint, why didn't you just pick a race that those ran at and put that car on the box art? But I mean, I guess it's a half measure. In terms of, well, it's kind of sort of correct for what it is, but not really. But you could do it this way, and it's not as bad. So I mean, otherwise, monogram kit, nothing to really write home about there in terms of the kits. If you built one at any point in your life, you already know what you're getting there. And then over on the round 2 side of things, the 3 releases this week are, first up, this 1964 Ranchero, so another run out of this. This is a Coca-Cola kit. Yes, folks, I know. I read not so much comments to me, because you people are polite to me, but the comments I see on round 2 and the forums and everywhere else about what people think of this Coca-Cola licensing deal. Saying that they're done with it is probably putting it mildly. Now, what is unique to this kit before you kill it is the fact that in addition to the 2 flat to Coca-Cola bottles that you get, you also, we'll go back to the box art, that cooler that's on the thing there underneath the Frankie's window sign, that cooler comes with this kit, and that sort of outside vending machine cooler has not previously been available. So I personally have little to no use for a 64 Ranchero. I have little to no use for pretty much any 1960s AMT kit, which I know will offend some people out there, but hike up your pants for half a second, listen to me. Come on, we can all admit they're not the greatest kits. Yes, we can have arguments about body fidelity and the fact that 60s kits can at times be more accurate than new kits because there's just a lack of feeling in computer design and all that kind of thing, when the reality, the computer designs are probably actually correct and the ones from the 60s are wrong. But anyway, my biggest issue with the 60 Ranchero is you can't build a factory stock. It's always got that small block, I guess it's a small block Chevy, right? But it's got that V8 in it that a 60 Ranchero was not available with in the first place because of its history from what it really is. Beyond that, it is the same 64 Ranchero that you've always been able to get, just with some new decals. And, of course, like I said, the flats of bottles and the vending machine, which I kind of really want the vending machine. But, again, I don't know that I necessarily want to buy the model kit and then, I don't know, sell. Am I going to buy this model kit, steal the cooler out of it, and then resell it without the cooler to somebody who really wants a Ranchero? Because I don't think anybody really wants a Ranchero that bad, because you've had, what? The 61 Ranchero was reissued, and then they retooled the grill for the gas or the Ohio George dragster thing that had the new 64 tooling insert put in for the grill. So I'm thinking if you wanted one, you already have one. So yeah, I don't know. It's just a lot of money. Maybe if it shows up at Ollie's, but I don't think any of the Coca-Cola kits have shown up at Ollie's, probably because that's a licensing thing there. But at any rate, moving along, the 1963 Ford Galaxie 500 XL Advanced Customizing Kit is your next round 2 offering. So, again, other than having pad-printed tires, which I know that the last version I have was in a sort of an older style, smaller box that was done back in the 2000s, that's pretty much it. New decals, new box, pad-printed tires. Otherwise, it's a, good Lord, what are we looking at here? Nearly 60-year-old model kit. So there's that. And then last from round 2 this week is the reissue of the 64 Ford Fairlane modified Stacker. So you get, of course, Japan printed racing tires and new decals here as well. This, for anyone who's ever wondered why there isn't a 64 Ford Fairlane model kit, is where your 65 Ford Fairlane model kit currently resides, chopped up and turned into a stock car, because back in the 1960s they didn't think anyone would ever want these toys again later in life. So that kit is back out there for the collectors of that type of thing. And then we go overseas where we have one Hasegawa kit, one Tamiya kit, and several Oshima. So I guess we'll do the single shots first. First up, not a new kit, but it is new because it has not come out in Japan until this week, and that is the Ford Mustang GT4. Of course, we here in the United States got this last month. I'm assuming you probably have one, but if you pre-ordered one in Japan, because the price in Japan is something like $15 less than it was in the United States, not realizing that, of course, international shipping would go up in a huge COVID ball of flames, and now it'll probably cost more than the kit cost here in the United States to get it to yourself. Yeah, the kit is out in Japan, so there's that. The Hasegawa kit is one of the new toolkits from the folks over in Japan. It is the Mitsubishi Lancer EX 1800 GSR Turbo Intercooler 1983. Oh, Hasegawa loves to put as many words as they can possibly stuff onto the box art of their model kits, but be that as it may, this is a brand new tooling. It is very much like the rally car we just showed you, but as we've talked about in the past, the Hasegawa kit and the new BMAX kit do not share any parts, pieces, or even shared tooling at all. So this is a civilian version, basically, of that rally car. Brand new tooling, curbside as you might expect, but a very, very nice kit from the looks of it. We should have ours here tomorrow because I missed the FedEx guy this morning because I was getting an inspection done on my personal truck. Dang it, I missed the guy by like 15 minutes. It always works out that way. If you have to sign for something, you always miss the guy just enough so he's not in the neighborhood to come back right away. So hopefully that'll be here in the morning tomorrow. But in the meantime, this kit, like I said, brand new. Everything is new. We do see from looking at the parts maps, there's a set of taillights in here and a couple other pieces and parts that you don't use. So no big shocker there. There will be more Mitsubishi Lancers of this ilk coming, in the future. I always like the front spoiler decals that are flipped in reverse, like you saw on the box art there. That's a sort of a unique Japanese thing that was done by many, many car manufacturers. But yeah, this is a sedate 80s car, except that, for the 1980s, it was pretty not sedate. We did not obviously get this vehicle here in the United States with a turbocharged engine, but it was pushing out close to 200 horsepower in 1983. That's a pretty decent amount of oomph. Looking back into like the 60s and the muscle cars and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, no, and for Japan in 1983, considering the oil crisis and everybody was in compact cars and everything else like that, 200 horsepower and a four-door little, economy car, yeah, that was a little bit of room for them. It was a very, very popular, sports car, so to speak, in Japan at the time. So that is out there for everybody who's been waiting on that since February of last year. Over to Oshima, a couple reissues, and then one modified kit that we've also been waiting on for a little bit. So we have the reissue of this, the Celica Liftback 2000 GT. Also a reissue of the Fairlane Z Aero Custom. That's a once in every 90-day reissue. And then we go over to more factory stockish type of vehicles here. You have the reissue of the AE85 Corolla Levin 1500 SR from 1985. This is a kit that Oshima put a couple little bits and pieces and a decal sheets into to make it into the base model Levin, which of course, if you know your AE history as it relates to initial D, there's a reason why this was sort of tooled that way. To make the one kit a little more realistic. And then you have this, which is the AE6 Trudeau GT Apex, rather, from 1984. Now, this kit does have an engine. The 85 does not. The 84, 86 has an engine. The reason the AE85 doesn't have an engine is because it is a slightly smaller engine by like a tenth of a cylinder, or tenth of a liter, rather, in terms of its 1.5 liter four-cylinder. But there are external differences to the engine as far as, the airbox and things like that, that they did not want to go ahead and tool up specifically for a very niche vehicle. So the A85 does not. A86, in this case, this kit does come with the engine insert. And then lastly for this week, and for Oshima, is this, the release of the Urace, make your own jokes there, Nissan Skyline ER34 Type R. Now, there is a Urace ER34 that exists. You may have seen it before. I don't have it anywhere near me to like pull that off a shelf real quick. I'm trying to even figure out where in the world, where in the stack of stuff it even is over there. I think I have it in my Skyline stack because it's technically not a GTR. Yeah, there it is right there. Anyway, it's one of the old D1 Grand Prix drift cars. It's a four-door, GTSR or GTSM, I think technically. That was done, and Urace supplied the body kit to the drift car, and they've reissued it a number of times, and it's a gutted interior and very much a race car that they just turned into like a street car for the purposes of making it a model kit that they could release beyond the D1 Grand Prix licensing agreement. This is based on the new tool R34 four-door that came out last year, or actually probably the fall of 2018, and then there was a 2019 release of it as well. This was promised for the end of 2019 and has been delayed since then. Finally released. Hopefully, whatever issues they were having with it in terms of fit and finish are complete and taken care of. The R34 four-door has gotten some less than stellar reviews in terms of how well the front end fits on it, because if you've never seen one of these kits inside, the front end is all separate, with the fenders being separate. If you're an American guy watching this, you've never seen one of these kits. You don't, because there's a couple of different things now at this point. This is sort of a tooling thing that Oshima and a little bit of Fujimi have done recently. Think of the it just flipped out of my head there. It's like the but there's a 72 Nova that AMT did. It also had a Pontiac version, and they tooled it up with the fenders, full front clip being separate pieces, so that they could do the Pontiac or do the Nova, depending on what kit they wanted to release, without having to commit to tooling two whole bodies. Same principle here in 2020, 2018 of doing that, so that you can put a different front end on the kit without retooling it. So this gives you obviously a new front bumper, new lips, new hood, new front fenders as well, because the front fenders end in a different way than the factory stock ones do. The side skirt, a little ducktail spoiler on the back, a spoiler on the back of the roof as well, so this is 2 times their spoiling. There's a new rear bumper as well. The wheels are the Yankee wheels out of the Toyota 86 Rocket Bunny kit, so nothing appreciably new there. I don't think there's anything new for the interior, as I recall, but there are, looking at the parts runner for the new parts, there are some parts on that parts runner we don't use, and they are some strut uprights for the suspension, front and rear. So I don't know if those are were tooled with the kit to present a lowered suspension, and maybe they don't fit, and that's the reason why the kit was delayed, and now you just use the uprights from the factory stock kit, or if there's another version of a Urace or something body style Skyline with an even lowered suspension. I'm not sure. But there are definitely 4 parts on the new parts that you don't use. So maybe there's something else coming, or maybe that ends up being a what the whoopsie was about. Maybe the new suspension components actually don't fit the suspension. This is another kit that we should have had today in my hands to know for sure what the deal was there. But again, missed the FedEx guy. So once I get this kit in hand, I'll be interested to see if those parts on the new parts runner are shorter, longer, what the deal is there. But at any rate, that kit is finally out after probably about, I don't know, it's probably 6 months late at this point. But again, everything gets released in due time, I guess. So anyway, guys, hope you guys had a great weekend. Once again, I would like to remind everyone, because I know that several people that watch the hobby as a whole tend to be in what would be considered to be the target group for coronavirus, being that y'all are sort of elderly and many of you people have diabetes the way I do and things like that. We're not kind of out of the woods yet. Y'all just decided that the things were opened, and so nobody needed to pay attention to it anymore because it was going to magically disappear in the summer. It didn't magically disappear in the summer. Put your damn mask back on. It's not a political statement. It's not a right or left thing. Yeah, don't die. That would probably be the base of every message I could possibly give any of you. Take care of yourselves. Don't worry about what other people think of you, unless you want to suffocate to death and that be the end of you. It's a miserable, miserable way to go out. So, stop worrying about what the news tells you and do what you know is right. So, anyway, we'll see you guys on the other side.